Husqvarna handhelds, chainsaws, trimmers, leaf blowers, hedge trimmers, and more. Buy it here, get it serviced here. Hometown Motors Incorporated, 818 Eastern Avenue, Chillicothe.
Well, the pandemic wiped out the M.A.D.E rally this past year, but we have one coming up this year. M.A.D.E, of course, is My Attitude Determines Everything, and it's part of the Drug-Free Clubs of America here in the Chillicothe area. A number of high school kids have pledged to be drug-free, and one who will be participating in that rally is Philip Murphy from American Idol fame. If you saw the series this past spring, you were introduced to Philip Murphy, but he's been in our community for the last few months here, and I'll let him explain why. Good to have you with us.
Hey, thank you for having me. I've actually been in Chillicothe for a couple of months now, participating in the recording workshop program. It's a program where you can study all the basics, ins and outs of audio and production for music and not theater, but actually for theater, for live sound, for events like plays. But you can do a lot of studio work. It really teaches you everything you'd need to go from having no idea what your sound is to being able to produce it on a competent level. You gain so much about what an EQ does, about where your gain actually matters, and it changes as a musician how you approach making music, because you can go in with a lot more knowledge instead of I'm going to press record and hope it sounds good.
Yeah, cross your fingers and see what happens.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it was a lot of that beforehand.
for folks who are not familiar with the recording workshop, of course, our friend Paul Pollard, who's been very much involved with Rock for Tots over the years, and has a lot of people know him through the Majestic Theater and what else he's done there entertainment wise, reached out to you. Is that right?
Yeah, he was kind enough to give me a call, and we arranged. I said, I like your program. I think I'd be interested, and it was pretty quick to get to chatting about guitars and my songwriting style. And he told me about how he used to write songs and how he still does, and I just got all the more intrigued. And I had actually planned to come now, or rather the early fall um, class, and I ended up coming early because I kind of got excited. And I said, you know what, I'd really like to get going now, and it'd be cool to, it would have been, it was just great to get to do it quicker than I thought I was going to.
The reason that you are participating in this, you have an appreciation for kids, and as well as many of us do, the opioid epidemic has created difficulties all across the nation. And about 5 6 years ago, the folks that have created M.A.D.E, they took a step and commitment to see what they could do about improving the lives of locals here, and starting with the younger generation. You've seen the impact of what drugs can do, and this is a place that it really gives you an opportunity and a platform to say, hey, you don't need to have drugs to have an entertaining lifeline.
Oh, you certainly don't. I mean, what I'm 28 now, and I mean, of all the things anybody could ever tell you that you need, you should never the first thing you need is water, food, and good amount of sleep. That's all you start every day with, and you should finish every day with that. And if you got your basics down, most people don't. Most people forget one or two or three, and then they try and substitute it with something else, thinking it'll fix their problem. And sometimes that behavior leads to something a lot worse. It's something I've seen, and it's a little odd to navigate, but you just try and remind people, hey, you've got everything you need. Like even my friends that have struggled in the past, I remind them, you have everything you need, and if you need extra, if you need a friend, if you need an ear, if you need something else, tell me. But you don't need, to struggle with that. And I don't mean to say it so plainly, but it's only from conversations like that I could draw such conclusion.
I know in watching through American Idol and other things that we've learned about you along the way, that having been a street performer, especially in a big metropolitan area, you probably have seen a lot of this up close and in person.
Oh, of course, but you do what you can to either be a positive influence on the day. Like I remember I had a man, he was an alcoholic, and Here's a fun story for you. It'll make you kind of sad, but it'll make you laugh. It was about maybe 1 in the morning in New Orleans. I was out busking and playing, and this man stumbling down the street, right off of Frenchman, not Bourbon, but Frenchman Street, the classier side of the drinking scene. And he stumbled out with one of those giant like beers because he hadn't finished it. He had a big beer, and he stumbled and he tripped over his own shoe, and he poured it right into my case, all over my night's money, all over everything. And he sat there and he cried and he said, "I'm sorry." Like he apologized. He said, "I'm too drunk. I got too drunk, and I'm sorry." And then he threw $100 in the case. It was an oddball thing. And he said, "Would you finish that song? You're just singing." I was singing a James Taylor song at the time, but it was an odd interaction. I could have gotten mad that somebody, had messed up, money that I could clean. But I chose, he asked me to finish my song. And at that moment, I was like, he doesn't not appreciate me. You know, this person's trouble with what they're dealing with doesn't define how they, view me as a person. He didn't mean me disrespect. Sure, it happened, but if I took every bad instance, because of circumstance and led with anger, I wouldn't be anywhere. He wouldn't have done himself any better if he seen me angry. It wouldn't have made his night any easier. He was already upset. Yeah.
Ironic if you were singing Fire and Rain, or you've got a friend at the time.
I was singing Fire and Rain. I love
Was
that
that
song.
right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Talking with Philip Murphy, he'll be performing at the M.A.D.E rally coming up this Friday. When you first heard about this program going on here in the Chillicothe area and having your street experience, what piqued your interest? What drew you to say, "Hey, I want to be a part of this"?
I was every one of these kids. I mean, in heart, I still am. I believe, I don't mean to say in heart, but if I can put it into perspective, I will never have the same circumstances as these children. I won't. And, but I've been there, it's hard to say, "Hey, I've lived through it." It's hard to tell people, "I've lived through it and I can give you insight," but it's amazing when you actually can. These kids have a million different avenues on how to receive information, and it, we get to be spoiled by saying, "Hey, these are the stories that matter. This isn't inflated social media. This is the truth from people that lived it, that want to see the world better from it." You know what I mean? If I can put it plainly, I've got so much in common with how these kids are. It staggers me. I used to feel so alone, and now you know, and I say that selfishly, foolishly, and now I know there's people that are still fighting as I'm 28, that are still making the most of their communities, and I'm thrilled to get to be a part of that, because I was there when my voice didn't feel like it mattered, and now it can, and now I can at least add some positivity to the day, because no matter which way you spin it, sometimes it's hard to deal with, but if you can take one good thing out of every bad situation, you'll be better off.
Yeah, certainly you're working on your message for the kids. And uh, do you plan on making like a keynote speech in any fashion, or are you just going to sprinkle in a few messages in between songs?
I'll play it by ear like most good things, and I just hope that I can not not muddy the message in any regard. That's all. I think the biggest thing here is community and the knowledge that you are supported in your community for your positive choices, despite what the media and the world would have you believe are easier or otherwise, you know, favorable routes for any one reason because someone said so or whatever the idea is. It's just I'm proud to be a part of that. I can't wait to talk on that. But it's hard to think about a whole speech involved because I have so many stories I could tell them about, you know, what good can come of any bad day, what to look forward to no matter what. That's an odd factor in a young person's life. When you tell them the words "no matter what," it usually inspires fear. But if you can give them something to consistently hope for, consistently be proud of, and strive for, especially if something simple like their own peace of mind, it's worth talking on. So I'll try to make it as concise as I can.
All we want is hope. And
Yeah.
in those times where we feel like we have no hope, it's good to hear that from someone who has been through the valley. and that you can be on the mountaintop again.
You really can, like, I mean, oh, to get to speak on it, thank you.
We're joined now by Chris Scott, and Chris is very much involved with M.A.D.E, of course, the Drug-Free Clubs of America. And Chris, over the last 5-6 years or so, we have seen this program really blossom. It's expanded, and we've got a lot of kids involved. To tell everybody what M.A.D.E is about and bring us up to speed for what they will be seeing this coming Friday.
Okay, great. Well, M.A.D.E is our local chapters of the Drug-Free Clubs of America. We started this now, it's what's 6th year. Dave Huggins, he always has all the data. I'm not good on the data, but 6th year, I do believe, 5th or 6th year. I always have to go back. My daughter's a senior this year, and she's one of our ambassadors in the program. So it's the local chapters of the Drug-Free Clubs of America here in Ross County. And that's the M.A.D.E is an acronym that the kids came up with back then, was my attitude determines everything. And so, the kids take a voluntary drug test in the school, and they submit themselves to a voluntary random, 2 actually during the year. And in return, they get a little ID card that says, hey, they're a member, and they got an app on their phone. And then we have so many of the local businesses that give them a little incentive when they stop by. So that's kind of the perk for the kids. But in school, they have some incentive days where they go in, and if you're an M.A.D.E member, you get to have hot chocolate that day, or there's all these little incentives, but the kids don't do it for the incentives. They do it for enough. That's one of the many reasons they're involved in it. But it's a youth-led program. So that's one of the big differences for me is, all these other programs that kids are forced into, whether it's forced into drug testing, into athletic programs, whatever, that stuff's put on them, it's mandatory. This is completely voluntary. And normally when drug-free clubs goes into a school, they get somewhere around 15 to 20% enrollment from most schools. Well, we looked at them back when we first started this and said, we're going to do a lot better than that. We're going to get 30 to 35%. Well, we didn't do that. We got 70%. That first year, we had some programs that had 100% in some of their sports and groups. And because the kids are so passionate about making our community better, about not doing drugs, about not being involved in some of the addictions and the opioid addictions and all those things that we've seen. And the kids were tired of seeing the results of all that. So they've made a huge difference. We started out like gangbusters, and we had this crazy little thing happen in the world last year that kind of took us out of school for a minute. So this is kind of like M.A.D.E 2.0, because this is like the newer, better, faster model coming out this year. And that's whenever we had the opportunity for this Friday to have the golden ticket. We got Murphy. So excited about it. Because, it's funny. One of the things I said when we started this, we always wanted to have the rally for the kids, and we've always had it downtown. And, my dream in the beginning, this is so close to my dream. I think it's even better than what my dream was originally. But my dream, I'd always talk about the program. I said, you know what? We're going to have Maroon 5 on the 50-yard line at Adena High School and have all the kids in the whole county there for it. We topped that this year. We got Murphy at BA Stadium. Boom. And
How's that make you feel there, Murph?
I mean, how do I say it other than thank you? Thank you for making me feel like I can be a part of this and make an impact in a lot of people's lives, and I mean, I feel like I'm sitting on coattails, I mean, thank you so much, for letting me walk in and just be a part of this. And I never thought I, would be able to put it to words, what I want to say. Now I got a chance to, and I get to sing.
I asked Murphy here just a little while ago, Chris, what his initial response was when he learned about this group and what M.A.D.E is all about, the Drug-Free Clubs of America. And now just watching kind of out of the corner of my eye to see his reaction to how many kids are involved in the program and the percentile. You've been up to what was it, Huntington High School, the first or second year, they had 95% of the kids who signed up.
Yeah. It flipped the peer pressure in schools, and they did. The kids instead of it changed the culture is what was crazy. But yeah, the peer pressure was, hey, you need to be in the club. But the other cool thing is, and Murphy, I think you'll like this too, is it gives kids who've never been part of other teams or sports or clubs, they're on the same team, now. we're part of that. You know, that's that shirt that the kids get. That's exclusive to the kids that they get that shirt each year. And they're on a team. They're part of that. A quick story: we had a student from Ross County that had moved out of the area. I went up to Pickerington. I'm sorry, I'm in the hotel lobby and there's people yelling. This kid moved in one of the schools in Pickerington, and they sit down with the guidance counselor and they say, "What are you involved in? What do you like to do?" And the kid, "Well, I'm not into this. I'm not into that." They were just kind of a little bit of a loner. But they said, "Well, we have drug-free clubs." And he went, "Oh, I'm in that club. I'm in that club." So that's really cool. It just gives kids that may not have been involved in other things before real bonding as teammates, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing better to bond over than wellness, health, community, and hope. You know, like what else you gonna talk about?
I think you could write a great song for that, Murphy.
And now, in previous years, this has been a big rally at the city pool, then a march up to the Ross County Courthouse. And Murphy, you missed seeing a lot of that stuff. That was really cool. But at VA Memorial Stadium, you're going to have a capacity crowd. All these kids will be poured in here. And Chris, I've tried to imagine what this is going to look like just from other events that have been at the stadium. So I got chills just thinking about it right now, what it's going to look like.
It's going to be a stadium show. I mean, that's what's so awesome about it. I mean, there's part of me, it was like, oh, we're not going to be downtown. We can't scream and holler, and everybody may hear us and see us on the courthouse steps. But I'm like, you know what? We're getting to do something this year. We are having it. That's the most important part. We're able to manage some separation things that we need to do for health reasons. But we're having a stadium show. I mean, that's so awesome. And we got Murphy.
I can't wait.
This will be a lot different than the streets of New Orleans for you here.
Oh, of course. They're different beasts themselves. You know, there's a different way to do it all, to play these songs. You know, I can't believe I get to be in a stadium and I get to. That's. I mean, not to sound so odd about it, but you can sing in any gymnasium or any church you want. It's a different animal once you have a whole stadium sound system. We just learned about setting all of those up, so it's really fun to think about.
And a couple thousand screaming kids, man. That if they weren't watching American Idol back then, they have now because most of them have. But we got a great poster put together, and thanks to Metropolis Design Studios. I mean, it's a rock and roll poster that references the golden ticket. If your child's in the county schools and their ticket to go to the concert on Fridays, just go ahead and see their guidance counselor. Go on drugfreeclubsofamerica.com. You can go on the website and sign your kid up. But make sure it's something your kid wants to do too. This is something we always want to make sure the kids. But back to the stadium, Dan, I got to thank Brian Wickline, Chillicothe Paints. I got to thank the whole VA staff and the fire department, and the police department of VA. There's so many people I wouldn't even want to start. Station Ruby and all the crew at the VA for putting this together. And then we can't even venture to mention all the people that make this thing happen every year. I tell you, it was Sandy Murray's idea. Like, we had an idea to have a rally, but Sandy Murray said, well, let's do it downtown. She's a Chillicothe police officer, now retired. And, I said, Sandy, you're crazy. We can't pull this off this quick. She said, watch me. And she did. And she's worked hard every year. And the folks from Drug Free Clubs of America with Dave Huggins and the Buck 50, the whole group. And gee whiz, Murph, we'd be in trouble if we didn't mention Paul Pollard. That guy every year's been there for us. And he's the one that brought Murphy into this.
Yeah, we were talking about how they hooked up together and brought him to where it all happens, Chillicothe, Ohio. And
the heart of it all, baby.
You betcha. It should be a fantastic event. Chris, before we let you go, because I know you've got meetings you're in, he's down in the wonderful abodes of Florida. Lucky guy. But you will be back next for the event coming up Friday. So that's good to see that. But before we let you go, some final words on this whole experience that we will see our kids experience.
This is I don't want to get too tore, but this is a kind of special year, seeing my daughter go through 4 years of the club, being so excited about being an ambassador, now being a senior, and being able to have somebody like Murphy here this year. It's pretty special. Whew. It's pretty special to me, especially this one. Phew, sorry, Dan. Didn't know that was coming. But yeah, it's pretty special this year. Being able, last year missing it, man, I missed it. I mean, I've done a lot of things in life, but this is probably one of the highlights for me. And that rally, sorry, it puts it together. It's the cap every year of what we've done here in Ross County, and people notice, and it makes a difference in these kids' lives. I had somebody at the beginning tell me, "Oh, that's too much, or this or that." What's one kid's life worth? And I mean, I know we've changed lives, we've changed the culture. And it's not perfect, guys, by any means. I mean, we still got little ornery catbirds out there in these schools, but a lot has changed in the past 5 or 6 years with these kids and this culture in these schools. And it's never going to be perfect, but we're always going to be working towards being better. And the kids are so proud of Ross County. They're so proud of where they come from. And being able to get together as one team, all the schools together. And then we're bringing Buckeye Hills from down in, Guy County. That includes a lot of other kids, and Circleville's coming. And there's several other schools from outside the county coming. So we're going to have a couple thousand kids, rock and roll. Philip Murphy, the true American Idol. I'm telling you, we all know who should have won. But anyway, we won't go into that right now. But I'm excited. I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little emotional and excited. But this is it's a great thing. And Murphy, thanks for being there. Oh, Dan, we got a couple of special announcements too. We got a couple of local kids that are going to be doing some songs opening up for Phil too. So be great. Some other great artists we're going to be bringing to the table. We'll save those as surprises for the day of the event. But wow, I'm excited.
It's going to be an absolute blast. And
yeah.
How long are the kids going to be there?
A couple hours. The Jan Daddy and the sheriff's department, and there's so many people. I mean, I can't even mention. I hate throwing names out because I don't want to miss anybody. If I miss you, I apologize, because there's so many people contribute to the organization and to that event that day. But Jan and the sheriff's department kind of work together to get everybody fed. Jan Daddy from McDonald's, and then thanks to Sheriff Lavender and his whole crew, they get the grills out bright and early, and they get hot dogs wrapped and chips, and Hershey's got apples, and hers has got chips, and we get feed a couple thousand kids. I mean, that's an amazing thing in itself, is just feeding a couple thousand kids lunch. But yeah, they'll be there from in the morning, first thing at school. They'll be heading over to the stadium, and we'll have a big show. They'll be having some games and playing cornhole and just having a lot of activities and fun, and capping it off with one of the greatest concerts, in my opinion, that's ever been held in Ross County.
Pinch yourself, Philip Murphy.
I can't wait to be a part of it. I mean, just thank you. Goodness, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just of all the things I thought I'd be doing at 28, I didn't think I'd be making more of a difference. I thought I'd have to pick a lane, stick to it, and now I just get to keep pushing. And it's thanks to people like you that also believe in working with artists like me that make this possible. Thank you so much.
Well, with Murphy's story, I mean, I've watched a lot of your stuff, and M.A.D.E, my attitude determines everything. That guy right there with the big hair has one of the best. I'm so jealous of your hair, but has one of the best attitudes. I mean, just seeing some of your interviews, that's why I've been so excited to get to meet you. Just seeing some of your interviews and knowing your philosophies and listening to a little bit of that. Your attitude determines everything that's got you where you are today. And that's what these kids need to see, a positive role model like that. And I don't know, I'm just excited. Thanks, Dan,
certainly
for making me all emotional and stuff today. I wasn't planning on all that.
Certainly make this a life-changing moment for many kids, and even for the adults that are involved in this as well. Guys, thanks for getting together with us here today, and looking forward to seeing this event coming up, the M.A.D.E Rally, coming up on Friday. Thanks again, Philip Murphy and Chris Scott.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Take good care.